It all makes perfect sense now. JFK files being released, I finally figured everything out. And it's not even in the files. It's so obvious when you look at it. The deep state's not fooling me anymore. And I'll tell you this, I haven't gone to sleep for 17 days because they want you asleep.
Could you lay it all out for me?
Can I? I would even if you didn't want me to. Just follow how these simple dots connect. First, to understand the truth of the JFK assassination, you have to understand that they've been microchipping us with microplastics for decades. That has altered the DNA of the human race, changed us genetically. We used to be a purebred heteromammalian species, and now we're a transgender, inbred, aquatic, multigender species, and we shouldn't have eyes.
I thought microplastics just lower testosterone levels.
Oh, you still believe in the testosterone hoax? Have you ever seen that hormone? That's a psyop that originated in Israel and was back-channeled to the CIA, which spoon-fed it to the American people through medical propaganda for decades because the Rockefellers invented Israel.
Why?
Because if you're thinking about testosterone and low sperm counts, you're not realizing they killed Kennedy.
Who's they? Israel?
No, they killed Kennedy.
They? The CIA? The mob?
No, they killed Kennedy.
Who's they?
The theys, the trans, theys killed Kennedy. We've been saying it for decades without knowing. We were spot on the whole time. And the sheeple are like, oh, they killed Kennedy? Well, who's they? Well, they are the theys, the pronoun people. The best way to hide anything is in plain sight. That's why it took us so long to figure out who killed Kennedy. They did. It was the theys all along.
Why did theys kill Kennedy?
I mean, telling you what you already know here, but everyone in the government since 1933 has all been trans. And they didn't want you to know because otherwise you would never let your kids learn to read to protect them from their pronoun propaganda.
Could you explain that?
FDR, who was in a wheelchair, took office in 1933. But have you ever asked yourself why he was in a wheelchair?
Probably because he couldn't walk.
Wrong. It was because FDR was a woman pretending to be a man, therefore never wanted to stand up because if he did, people would see he didn't have a bulge. Candace Owens proved all this.
I think she was talking about France's first lady being a man.
No, she had to disguise the truth because if she didn't, they would kill her too. And here's what Candace Owens really doesn't want you to know. Candace Owens is a man. Have you ever seen her and Dylan Mulvaney at the same time? She's just trying to be like her idol FDR, who might still be alive and is potentially Epstein.
Yeah, but I think FDR was in a wheelchair because he had polio.
I'm glad you brought that up, because of course that's what they want you to think. But have you ever thought about why they wanted you to think he had polio?
No.
You haven't? Really? Well, think about this. Have you ever thought about what the polio vaccine vaccinates you against? Polio. That's interesting.
Insightful.
Yeah. And then you're probably wondering, why are there so many more trans people today than there were in the mid-1930s? It's because they're using the polio vaccine to kill off heteronormative people. And it's not that there's more trans people today, it's there's less heteronormative people today because they've been killing them off. So percentage-wise, more trans. Which brings me to the case of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds versus Justin Baldoni.
How does that tie into Kennedy being killed?
It doesn't. I just find it really interesting. I mean, do they have no morals? It's a shame what they're doing to Justin Baldoni. I don't like it. Oh, and before we get back to Kennedy, don't you move a muscle.
Whoa, what are you doing?
Oh, I thought you were someone else. So with Kennedy, the pronoun theys became threatened by JFK when he announced, we're going to the moon. I mean, as you know, the moon is fake. It's a psyop invented by the trans. Because the moon is a symbol of the butt. And the butt is what trans people pretend is the vagina. But it's not a real vagina, so the moon's not real because the butt's not a real vagina, and they don't want young people to know this. And Kennedy was gonna go to the moon and find out it's not real when he couldn't get there, which would have completely pulled the veil back on the theys not being real men and women. So of course Oswald became their fall guy, who was having a secret love affair with Jack Ruby. Oswald had motive. He was working with the Cubans, the Russians, the CIA. Perfect fall guy. So, the trans had one of their own killed to cover up the killing of one who was not their own, JFK. Oh, and by the way, they never thought the public would find out that Kennedy was killed. But people did find out, so Hillary Clinton tried to rule it a suicide, but even Bill wouldn't believe that. So they had to scramble and hide the identity of the real shooter. It was they all along. Specifically, and probably, Big Mike Obama. They hid it in plain sight all this time. and Joan Rivers lost her life over it. I mean, I just published this whole thing on a 49-part Twitter thread, so it's officially on the record now. If you'll excuse me, I've got to go re-up my Adderall. But if something happens to me, now you know why. Do you have all the energy you could ever want and you never feel tired? Yeah, neither does anybody else. And with that, did you know there's one phase of sleep that almost everyone fails to get enough of? And this one phase of sleep is responsible for most of your body's rejuvenation, repair, weight loss, hormones, and energy. I'm talking about deep sleep. And if you don't get enough of it, you'll probably struggle with a slow metabolism, cravings, premature aging, and even worse conditions. Why don't most people get enough of this number one most important phase of sleep? Well, a big reason is they're deficient in magnesium. 80% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is vital for most of your body's functions, and it certainly plays a key role in regulating your body's sleep and stress regulation system. Those with magnesium deficiency typically have higher stress levels, which negatively impacts their sleep as well. Now, before you go out and buy just any magnesium, just know this: most magnesium supplements on the market only have 1 or 2 forms of magnesium in it. But to properly regulate your sleep and your body's vital function, your body needs all 7 forms of essential magnesium, like you get with Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Magnesium Breakthrough contains all 7 forms of magnesium designed to calm your mind, help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. I consistently take it because the deep sleep benefits are noticeable. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/JP and use code AWAKEN for 10% off at checkout. And if you subscribe, not only will you get exclusive offers and amazing discounts, you'll also make sure that your monthly supply is guaranteed. That's bioptimizers.com/JP.